Okay, yesterday we started the things with the data dictionary and we discussed the theoretical part and we implemented the data dictionary for the inputting the test data. Okay, the most important thing which we learned yesterday is to write this keyword, basically to write this syntax. dict_obj.add key and the item. Here also we wrote dict_obj.add key and the item. Key is nothing but is your variable name and whatever the value is called as an item there. Okay, and to again reiterate, dict_obj or dictionary object is a virtual file. Dictionary object is a virtual file which holds the data. Okay, now the next thing is, as we discussed yesterday, all this code has been developed and I kept on saying that the test data will be passed from the test data sheet and all those stuff, right? What I'm going to do is the same code, I'll copy and put it in a notepad. And today we'll just do an exercise. In my D drive, I have a test data sheet. In this test data sheet, my objective is to pass this data to my script, yesterday's script. See, assume this is my test data sheet. I need to check for this test case ID GB04 launch URL. Okay, enter the user ID and enter the password. So what was my yesterday's code? If you see here, yesterday before this line of code, right, systemutil.run ixpro.exe. Okay, to execute this line of code, what we did is we happily hard coded line number 3. Okay, if you closely observe, before launching this, I had hard coded the things. Okay, instead, I need to take it from where? I need to take it from the Excel sheet. Okay, Excel sheet will be having what? URL. That URL, what is the value? That value should be getting. The same code should work, but the data should be, we should be getting the data from the test data sheet. Okay, now the next thing which we had hard coded is handle property, all these things inside the code we are leaving it as it is. Okay, now if you see here, I need to enter user ID in line number 20th. In line number 20, I need to enter user ID. Okay, so yesterday I had hard coded. I need to remove this. But my code should be able to get the things from the test data sheet. Okay, and the next thing is dict_obj.add learn $123. If you see here, line number 23, I'm passing the test data, but this one should be passed from where? From the test data sheet. Shall I make this as in my test data sheet as PWD? Okay, I'm making this in the test data sheet as PWD. So from the test data sheet, it should pick up learn $123. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, let me save this. What I'm going to do is, I'll copy paste the entire code in a notepad. Okay, I'll copy paste the entire code in a notepad. Till login only I'm worried about in today's exercise. What I'm going to do is, in today's exercise, basically it will be like we'll be focusing on getting the test data from the test data sheet. Okay, shall I remove this line of code? Okay, what I'm going to do is set dictionary object, all these things I'll be writing in the code, in my own code now, whatever I'm going to write, right, picking up from the test data sheet, I'll be doing it by writing the code. So set dictionary object, I'll remove it. Closely observe guys what exactly I'm doing. I'm going to delete this. So this one is not required because I'm hard coding the things. This line, from where do I need to get? I need to get it from the test data sheet. Okay, where exactly it is resided in this case, my case, D drive data dictionary is my test data sheet. Okay, I am deleting that. So systemutile.run iexplore.exe dict obj of URL will be able to launch my URL. This one, whatever I am saying, right? In the framework, I'll be using it as tparam. It still remains the same case, but I am deleting that. In this example, I do not want this. This one also I am going to delete that because all these were commented. Okay. Now I take the first the browser is launched. I am taking the handle property message box. Handle property is there. So then I am adding that handle property to a key. This is the item and I am adding that to a key. Okay. So browser here, clicking on the sign in, all these are fine. So before passing this test data, okay, I have hard coded. So both the things, dict obj.pwd, this line and this line I'll be retaining, but these two lines I am going to delete. So these two lines will be sufficed from where? It will be sufficed from the piece of code which we are going to write now. Okay, I'm going to delete this. Okay, this tparam thing, anyway we are going to do that in our framework. This was just for a reference. It had got nothing to do with the coding in our coding things. Okay, I'm going to delete this. Okay, so closely observe, guys, what exactly has happened is, closely observe what exactly has happened. The piece of code is, first we are going to launch. Launching, first we are going to launch the URL. Which URL it should launch? From where it should pick up? For test case ID GB04, we have to launch books.rediff.com. So it has to launch. Okay. Then we take the handle property, which is as usual, the browser handle which we were discussing earlier, right? It is the same way we'll be taking out the handle property by using creation time 0, get arrow property, all those steps. This message box I'm still retaining so that I can showcase the value. That value is put into a key. If it's a value, I can write directly through the course. If it's a variable, I'm just writing a variable name. Okay. This piece of code is clicking on the sign in link. This piece of code is entering the user ID, but this user ID, we should be getting it from where? From the test data sheet. From the test data sheet, how exactly? This test data sheet, this will go in where? We need to add that. We need to add those things in where? We need to add that thing into a data dictionary. So we need to add all the things in the data dictionary. If you see here, key and the item. So first what we do is we add, say, test ID. Test ID is my key. What is the item? GB04. GB04 is my item. So the next one is URL. Next one is URL and books.rediff.com. Okay. And third one is UID. Third one is UID and the respective UIDs are there. QTP world, this one. Okay. And the last one is PWD and the password is learn123. So the main objective now, what we are going to write the code is, we need to check for which test case ID. Basically, our objective now is to load the test data for GB04. Okay, we will be loading all these things, this key and this item. Say first is the key is URL. So key is loaded and the item is books.rediff.com. Then what we do is we load the key as UID and the next one is we'll be loading it the QTP World 2008G and the third is PWD as a key and the value is learn123. We load it to the virtual file and then we load it to the virtual file and then get into this mode and basically and we'll be getting that values out. So when we say systemutile.run iexplore.exe dict obj.url, it should take books.rediff.com. Okay, so in this case it's nothing required because basically it is taking handle. So here one more, once this line of code gets executed, dict obj.handle add T handler and this one handle, how exactly it will look like? It will have something like this. T handler and respective numbers on each run. Say in this case something, some random number I'm going to write. Okay, during the next run, this value will be something else. Okay, now when this line of code gets executed, it will have that respective number. Okay, again, in this line, it will have the respective number T handler, and dict obj of UID will have what? It will have qtpworld2008g at gmail.com. So when this line of code gets executed, what it will have? It will have the number again, T handler. And this dict obj of pwd will have what? Learn123. And finally, click on the things. So basically, the overall, what exactly the things we are doing, the test data should be passed in which place? To the virtual file, which is called as data dictionary. Okay, and T handler is basically during the runtime it gets handled. So each time the value will be different. Everybody getting an idea, guys? Everybody getting an idea? So our objective is this piece of code should be getting the data from the data dictionary. So for that, we'll be writing a piece of code. The same code we'll be writing it as a function in our framework development. Okay, again on Friday, we'll be like writing the same piece of code, but we'll be making it as a function. Okay, guys, who has not practiced the data table also, right? Please focus. Today you can again learn, but data table part is very, very important in our framework design. Okay, I'll again underline framework development requires the data table knowledge. Okay, please look into that code. Okay, so let me just start writing the code. Okay, the objective now is okay, objective now is I need to write the code for loading the test data. So here one new syntax will get into the picture. Okay, here test ID is called as parameter name. Here in any case the data table, the column names are called as parameter. Okay, the column name is called as, in syntax wise it's called as parameter name. This is called as, for that parameter, value by row. GB04 is called as what? Value by row. URL is called as parameter name, and this one is called as value by row. UID is called as parameter name, and this one is called as, for that respective parameter name, this is value by row. PWD is called as parameter name. This one is called as, for that respective parameter name, the value by row. Okay, but the code which we are going to write, okay, the parameter name and value by row, we call it as in a different name or a different variable. Okay, we'll be calling this as S key, which is a parameter name. We call this as S item, which is parameter name, for that parameter name value by row. Okay, again, what is the S key? S key is URL. When we say S key, okay, S key is what? It's a parameter name, and this one is S item. It is value by row for that parameter. UID, what it is? S key, it's a parameter name, and this is value by row for that parameter S item. PWD is S key, and this is S item. You might be wondering what is this guy is talking about. Okay, when I type the code, right, you'll get an idea what exactly I was up to. Okay, the entire section in today's session, right, only one thing you need to know. If you know that line of code, I'll be more than happy. That is nothing but dict object, because all this code you can just copy paste. It'll work properly for any project. Okay, so that's why the piece of code is always common code. Okay, dict obj dot add s key comma yes item, s key comma yes item. When I say s key comma yes item, this will be your s key and this will be your s item. Okay, when we say dict obj.skey comma s item, it should take care of this way. Test ID, it should take and it should have that respective value. This is your s key and this is your s item. And URL is your s key and books.rediff.com is s item. UID is your s key and this one will be s item, QTP World 2008G. This one is s key and learn123 is your s item. So in the code, t handler is your s key and respective that number is called as an s item. So if you know only this line of code from yesterday's discussion till today end of the day, right? If you know to write this line of code, that's more than enough for us. Okay, dict obj.add s key comma s item. What does it do? It basically takes the test data, that is test data sheet. In the test data sheet, we'll be having the test data column name and test data value. Test data column name is called as your S key and test data value is called as item, S item. Okay, the column name is called as S key and this is called as an S item. I'm repeating because it's very important, guys. Okay, let me just start writing the code for this. Okay, let me erase all these things. Okay, now what is my objective? I opened a notepad, what you call erase some of the code. I'm saying this piece of code should get the data from the whatever the first thing is it should get the test data from the data dictionary. This piece of code says get the data from the dictionary. So to get the data from the dictionary, we have to put this data to a data dictionary from the test data sheet. Okay, so we'll be putting that to the virtual file. From there, this code should pick it up. Basically, ideally speaking, it is taking the data from the test data sheet, but indirectly it is taking from the data dictionary. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll save this file. I'll save this file in a desktop itself. I'll save it as December 2014.txt. Okay, I'm saving these things in a desktop itself. Okay, the same piece of code, earlier we had hard coded. Just before this line of code we were hard coding the things. Just before these two lines of code we were hard coding the things. Now let us pick it up from the test data sheet. How exactly to do that? Let us start writing the code. What I'll do is I'll create a new test. Those who have not practiced the data table also, right? Please focus. We can learn now as well. It's not a big deal actually. Okay, so what I'm going to say is I create a variable test underscore id equal to, for which variable, for which test case we are loading the test data. I'm going to load the test data for GB04. This is my objective. Okay, so what we are planning to create the virtual file, what is the another objective? To create the data dictionary. When I say dict obj equal to create object, what is the class value? It is scripting dot dictionary. Okay, this is your class value. Okay, once you create it, how do you release it? What is the last line of code? It would be set dict obj equal to what? Nothing. Once you create it, at the last line you are releasing that object. Okay, now shall we start writing the code for this? Okay, first is, if you remember, we need to add this sheet where? Into the data table. Let me just open the data table part. Just a moment, guys. Okay, let me drag and drop. Okay, so how do we start it? Data table dot add sheet. What do we need to add? I need to add sheet 1. When this line of code gets executed, sheet 1 is developed here. I mean, it creates a sheet 1. Then what is the next thing which we need to do? we need to import this sheet. Okay, we need to import that sheet. What is the syntax for that? Again, it's a normal English sentence, but we are prefixing that with the data table. Data table dot import sheet. Okay, what is the syntax for that? Where exactly my file name is. Okay, where is my file located? In D drive, data dictionary, get into the security, get the path. Okay, I've copied that path. First parameter is the path. Next is, what is this source sheet? What is this source sheet, guys? Okay, it's there in the Excel. Inside Excel, there are 3 sheets. Which sheet we need to focus? Sheet 1. Okay, sheet 1. Then it says destination sheet. What is the destination sheet, guys? Whatever you had added earlier in line number 6, that is in this place. Okay, which is sheet 1. That is your destination sheet. Sheet 1. Okay, once it is added and once it is imported, what is the next line of code should be? Any guess, guys? Let us be interactive now. Okay, what is the next line of code? Any guess? Anybody remember? What should be the next line of code? My objective is, for this test case ID, I need to load all these things to the data dictionary. Okay, to check to check and match for GB04. Okay, what should be the procedure? What should be the procedure? Okay, very good, guys. You people are proposing that you should take a row count and then traverse through the rows. Very good. So how do I get the row count? So to get inside this cell, right? Okay, to ask UTP to go row by row, right? By using a for loop, I need to get the row count. To check what is the value inside this cell, right? I need to get the row count, then I need to traverse row by row. So for that, I need to get the row count. What is the, I'll say dt underscore row count, dt underscore row count. Okay, how do I get the row count? Data table, sorry guys, data table dot get sheet. You need to get that sheet. Which sheet you need to get? You need to get sheet 1. Whatever is there here, right? Whatever is there here, get that sheet. Because once it is added and once it is imported, you are basically focusing on this place. These things will become the column name. Test ID and all those things, right, will become the column name instead of ABCD. Okay, so then we are getting that sheet, get sheet dot, what is the syntax for that? To get the row count, it should be get row count. Okay, we get the row count. Another thing which we require is, I need to get the column count as well, because I need the column name. I need the column name. My column name should be S key. Okay, so to get the column names, what I need to do is I need to get the column count. How do I get the column count? Till now we have not written the code for the column count, guys. Any guess what exactly it might be? I say dt underscore column count, data table dot get sheet, it is sheet 1 dot, what exactly it should be? Any guess, guys, what, how to get the column count? How to get the column count? Let us be interactive once again, because it's all very important, because same way we'll be designing the framework also with respect to the data table. Get column count is the answer. Okay, get column count is the answer. Okay, Ravi, it cannot be get row count, because get row count already we have taken. Okay, so get column count is the answer. Here, please closely observe. That's why I just wanted you people to answer this. Dot, there is here in the data table, right? The columns are called as parameter. Columns are called as what? Parameter. So if you want to get that count, column count, we need to say get parameter count. There is nothing called as, there is no method called as column count here. So we need to be saying this as what? Get parameter count. It's an underline, guys. There is no get column count in the data table part. here the columns are identified as parameter. So to get the column count right, we'll be using get parameter count. Get parameter count. Okay, so we got the row count, we added the sheet, we imported the sheet, we got the row count. What is the next thing which you do? Whenever you get the row count, right? What is the blind thing which you are going to do? The next thing which you need to do is, any guess guys? Once you get the row count, how do you traverse through that? Okay, I got the row count. Okay, if I put a message box in line number 11, okay, how much the row count I would get? Any guess? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let me see the answers. Okay, so you people are saying that you need to, once you get the row count, blindly go with the for loop. It's very simple guys. Any logic when you are writing, right? If at all you have the row count or count which is already there, go blindly with the for loop. Supposedly you don't know the count, then only you use the do while loop. Okay, do while loops are used when you know the condition, when you don't know the count. Okay, when you know the count, you have to go with the for loop. That is the most easier method. Okay, so which loop to use at what point in time, we can make it simpler. Okay, so once you know the row count, okay, as you people suggested, go for the for loop. How do I say the for loop now? For, shall I say I row? Shall I say I row? Because I'll be using all the industry standards variables, guys. I say I row equal to 1 to where? From 1 to this dt row count. So dt row count will be having how much? How many rows? How many values? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 rows basically. So it will iterate from where to where? From 1 to 5. So when it is iterating, okay, if you people have practice, you'll be able to answer the next line of code. What should be the next line of code, guys? Because data-driven framework, data-driven part, which we were discussing last week, I believe, last to last week, we were extensively using this. Any guess what should be the next line of code? Because this is also very, very important, because in the framework, we'll be like writing these things. From tomorrow onwards, next 3 days, right, most of the code will be something like this. So that's why I just want you people to be more familiar. What we did is very simple things, guys. We did very simple things. It's very simple also. Data table is very, very simple. We added the sheet, imported the sheet from the source, that is where exactly the Excel sheet is. Source is this, inside the Excel sheet, what exactly the sheet one, and the destination is whatever we have added here. Whatever the sheet we have added, we are getting that sheet, we are getting the row count. That is line number 10. And we got the parameter count. That is the column count. Okay, what is the column count which we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Why we use the column count? To get the column name. Okay, what will be the next line of code in the for loop? Okay, I'm seeing a couple of answers now. Okay, so the answer is, as you people are suggesting, you need to set the row, set the current row. Setting the current row is nothing but to iterate here, right? You need to set it like this. First loop, when it starts, it sets the current row. Okay, it is like it gets highlighted like this. Whichever the column name and the value which you want to get, right, you can get those things. You can get that value. So we need to be saying data table. What's the syntax for that? Data table dot get sheet. Data table dot get sheet. Which sheet you need to get? Basically, which sheet we are always focusing here is the sheet 1. As of now, you are not able to see that. Only during the runtime you'll be able to see that. Data table dot get sheet dot set current row. Hereafter, during the framework design also, I'll be iterating, I'll be asking what is the next line of code. This is called as a default code. Hereafter, I'll call this as a default code. Okay, whenever you write a for loop, next line, that is with respect to data table. I underline this, guys. Whenever you write a data table part, and if there is a for loop, right, for loop iterating the row count, you need to set that current row. When I say set current row, which row it's getting, which row we need to say which is getting iterated? I row. I'll be saying set current row of I row. When it is iterating for the first time, set current row will work like this. When the second loop gets started, set current row will work like this. When the third iteration gets started, okay, this way. When the fourth iteration, this way. And the fifth iteration is this way. Okay. Now, when it is iterating, what is the objective which we have? What is the objective which we have? Our objective today is for the test case ID, test ID GB04, load all this column names, that is basically S key and S item, to the data dictionary and use it in this and pass this value to this code. Okay, that is what our objective now is. Okay, how can I say my test ID is matching this one? Okay, how do I write this? This is my variable which is having GB04. My manager says for GB04 load the test data. Now how do I say that in my code? Okay, I have set this current row. First iteration, it is checking whether GB01 is there or not. How do I say that? In the second iteration, it should check whether GB04 is there or not. It's not there. In the third iteration, it should check. In the fourth iteration, it should check. And it should say, okay, it's there. And do some of the rest of the process. So how do I do that, guys? Any suggestion? How do I do that? How do I check my test ID is GB04 or not? How do I write it through a syntax? As you people are suggesting, very good guys. As you people are suggesting, you need to write a if condition. Shall I say if? What it should be? What exactly it should be? Test ID. If test ID, whatever my manager has given, okay, is equal to, if test ID equal to what? How do I represent this cell? Basically, I need to represent this cells. In the first iteration, when the set current row, I need to represent this cell and check it whether it is the same or not. How do I take this value out? In the second iteration, I should represent this cell and take the value out. In third iteration, I should represent this cell. In fourth iteration, I should represent this. How do I represent that through my coding? Any guess, guys? Any suggestion? What should be the next piece of code here? Any guess? Even if it's wrong, give a shot. Even if it's a wrong, give a shot. What should be that value? Some of the people are saying data table dot value, and Niranjan is saying get cell data. Okay. Get cell data is used for web table, not for the data table. Okay. Closely observe, guys. To take that cell value, right? Data table dot value. Okay, we'll be writing, repeating this code, so you'll be very much familiar with in future. Not to worry. Test ID, we say data table dot value. Okay, open the braces. You'll get an idea what exactly you need to write. What is the parameter ID? What is the parameter ID here? It is test underscore ID. Okay, what's the parameter ID? It is test underscore ID, comma, and what is the sheet ID? It is sheet 1. Everybody getting it? To get this value, right? It is data table dot value. What is the parameter name? Test underscore ID, comma, which sheet it is resided? It is the sheet 1. So when we are comparing, what is the industry standard? We should trim it. We never know where exactly might be the space or something like that. So as a industry standard, we trim it. Okay. If both the condition are same, what exactly now it happens? What exactly now things will happen? It is like first iteration, GB01, GB02, GB03, it will check for this. GB04. Now, once it is matching, we should get the values out and put it to the data dictionary. So how to do that? Okay, so before getting into the things, shall I put a message box? If this condition is saying, shall I put a message box as successful? Okay, I just want to showcase you what exactly is happening. And then I'll write the next piece of code. Otherwise, you people might be getting it too much confused. Okay, so when this message box I will get, when my test ID is GB04 as per my what you call manager, as per my manager, when GB04 is matching with the test ID of GB04 in the test data sheet, then only I'll get the message box as what? Successful. Otherwise, it'll keep on looping. Shall we see that, guys? Shall we see that? Okay. What I'll do is let me just save as data dictionary 2. Data dictionary 2. Let me save this. Okay. What I'll do is I'll execute line by line, guys. Okay. Line by line. Okay. Let me just close the sheet as well. Okay. F11. How to add to this things to the watch? Okay. Let me just see the data table. Data. I'll just. Okay. F11. Now what it should happen? It has added the sheet 1 line number 8. Okay, this is how you need to work, guys. It has imported the sheet line number 8. It has imported all the column name ABCD has become the column names. Okay, now F11. What is the row count we will be having? 5. What is the column count we will be having? 4. Okay, so from 1 to where it will go? Now if you see the set current row, it gets highlighted. Okay, now what it will check? It will check for this cell. Okay, if the condition is matching, then it should show successful. Will the condition will get matched now? No. Now what will happen? It will go to the next iteration. Okay, now the set current row, it is there. Now whether GB04 and GB02 are same? No, it will come out of the things. Okay, now what is it? The next thing is the set current row. Okay, now whether GB03 and GB04 are same? No, it will get out of the loop. Okay, now next set current row. Now GB04 and GB04 are same. If it is same, it will get inside the if condition and it should show what? Message box as successful. Did you get it? Okay, now F11, it will go to the next line, set current row, and if you see here, it comes out of the loop and the last line of code got executed. Everybody got an idea, guys, what exactly is happening? As of now, the code which we have written is to just to check this data. If it is matching, get inside that. That is what we have written the code now. Now, I need to traverse through the column names and put the values into S key and the S item. Okay, that where exactly I need to write the code? Where exactly I need to write the code? Inside this if condition. Inside this if condition, I need to do what? I need to write a for loop. What I'll do is I'll remove this, guys. I'll remove this. What I'm going to do now? I need to traverse through the column names. I need to traverse through the column. How do I traverse through the column? I'll say for I call equal to 1 to where 1 to where basically 1 to column count. Where exactly my column count is? What is that variable which is having the column count? dt underscore column count. dt underscore column count. Here I would be saying dt underscore column count. Once I am traversing through the column, right, it will be like this. If it is once I am traversing, we are setting the current row like this, and now we are traversing through the column. Okay, I need to put the column name into one variable. For the column count, right? For the column count, after writing the for loop, there is no need of set current row kind of a thing. There is no default code. Okay, here will be I need to put the column count in which variable? S key. And the next one is S item. I need to put the values in which variable? S item. This is a new piece of code, guys, which you have not seen. It's a proper syntax itself. Okay, for getting the S key, right? For getting this S key, what exactly the code is? Data table dot get that sheet. Get that sheet. Which sheet I need to get? Sheet 1. Okay, dot get parameter. Okay, first get this sheet. Okay, get parameter. Which iteration is for using the what you call the which variable is used for the iteration for the column count? It is I call. Okay, it goes to I call get parameter I call dot name. There's a method called name. Okay, this is nothing but S key is okay. It will take the test ID. First column count 1, column 1, iteration 1, it will get the test ID and put it in which place? Put it into the S key. Get the sheet, get that parameter, get that name, dot name. Okay, how do I get the, for this name, for this test ID, how do I get this value out? How do I get the value out? I need to be saying data table, same thing, dot get sheet. Which sheet it is? Sheet 1. Okay, dot get parameter. Which parameter it is? Again, which one is iterating? Get that parameter dot to get this value out, right? It's called as value by row. As we discussed earlier, I call dot value by row. When it is value by row, which row is having the value by row? Which iteration we can say? This I row. Okay, because I row will be like setting into this one. Okay, for that, what is the key name? I mean, basically the parameter name is taken as S key and this is taken as S item. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to print S key. Okay, I'll just concatenate with the differentiator like this. I'll again repeat the things, guys. Not to worry if you're not getting. Okay, I'll again repeat it. Not to worry on that aspect. Okay, S item. I'm just printing that value out. Okay, this one I'll just give the indentation. Okay, I'll put it inside. Okay, let me just, okay, there's a if condition out. Let me give the proper indentations, guys. Where is dict object? So this is what the code which we have developed till now. So the new set of code which I have written is this 4 lines of code. Okay, what we have done is we have traversing through the columns. Okay, to get the parameter name, what we did is for I call from 1 to dt column count. How many columns which we have? 4 columns. So S key is having what? S key is to get the column name. To S key is to get the column name. It is the column name is called as test ID. So how do I get that? For that, the syntax is data table dot get sheet get parameter. During the first iteration, the I call will be 1 dot name. S key will be having test ID. And the next thing is yes item. Yes item is data table for that column name. Till this everything is same. For this column name, what is the value by row? The value by row is GB04. And we have put those two things to a variable and we are printing that. Print is nothing but it will give the output here. It will give the output here. QTP has its own log files. That log files we are putting the print there. Okay, it is only available during the runtime. Okay, next iteration what it does is it will have the I call as 2. S key will be having what? URL and S item will be having what? books.rediff.com. The next iteration it will have UID. S key will be having what? UID and S item will be QTP World 2018. Last iteration that is column 4. Okay, S key will be PWD and S item will be learn 123 this thing. Okay, and finally we are printing that values. Okay, let me save this, guys. Okay, S key is nothing but is the parameter name, and S item is the parameter value. So shall we execute line by line so that you get to see what exactly the things are happening? Okay, let me again execute line by line. F11. Okay, scripting.dictionary. We are opening the virtual file. Add the sheet. Closely observe, guys, in the data table sheet got added. Okay, F11. Why this import operation failed? Any guess? Any guess? Because it is already open. So let me just close this. When you are performing with the data table, right? When we are performing in the data table, the Excel sheet should be closed. Okay, F11. Okay, add the sheet. Import the sheet. It got imported. Row count. Column count. Row count is how much? 5, and the column count is 4. First it is iterating through the rows. Okay, now first is the set current row. It is checking for GB01. Okay, not there. Now set current row, second this thing, checking for GB04 equal to GB02 in this line. No, it is not there. Now the next line, checking for GB03 equal to GB04. No, the condition is not getting satisfied. Now checking GB04 equal to GB04. Now if the condition is same, what it should happen? It should get inside the if condition. Now closely observe, it got inside the if condition. Now how exactly it should traverse? It should traverse through the column. Okay. Now this one, S key, it should take what? Test ID, and S item, it should take what? Value GB04. Now it should print what? S key and S item. It got printed. Can you see test ID and GB04? And your data is this one. What it was? Test ID and GB04. What is the output? Test ID and GB04. This is for the first iteration. Now F11, closely observe. Again, the second iteration. Second iteration, what it should do? Second iteration, it should have URL. Closely observe, guys. F11 S key, it should have URL and S item books.rediff.com. Now it is printing. Once it is printed, if you see here in the output section, the print log, it is there. URL and books.rediff.com. What should be the next iteration? iCall will be 3, and S key will be having what? S key will be having UID, and this one should be that value. What exactly this UID is? The parameter name. If you see here, that is parameter name. What exactly this value? Parameter value by row. The syntax, guys. Okay. F11, if you see here, the third thing got incorporated. Okay. Again, F11. Okay. What's it? This is the last thing which we have. Okay. The count is what? The 4. So last thing. Okay. F11. What should be the S key here? PWD. What should be the SID? Learn 1, 2, 3. If you see the print, it got printed. All the 4 things got printed. Now the column count got evacuated. Okay, F11. It got into the next for loop. It got into the next for loop. What should be the next for loop? Again checking. The next for loop is again checking for GB05 or not. I mean GB05 equal to GB04 or not. If it's not there, it should come out of the things. Now it should get executed line number 35, and all the dict object class value, whatever the virtual file is there, it gets erased, or it becomes null, it becomes nothing. Everybody got it? So the total output which we get is test ID GB04. All these are where? All these are written into a print output file. Okay, if you closely observe, guys, if you closely observe, did we add these values to the data dictionary? We are happily printing that. We are happily printing it here. Okay, we are happily printing it here. Did we add this to the data dictionary? No, even the virtual file will look something like this. Even your virtual file of data dictionary will look something like this. How to add the things to the data dictionary now? We should be saying, so before this line of code, I'll say dict obj dot add, s key comma s item, s key comma s item. So earlier we were happily printing it from where? We were happily printing it from the data table. Okay, I'll comment this. Now we have added the things to the data dictionary. From there we are going to print it. Okay, it's a virtual file, guys. We cannot directly take it, but it'll look somewhat like this. What I'll do is I'll clear it. Okay, if I give a run statement again, right, it'll print all the outputs. Basically, we should be thinking that it is coming from the virtual file, because virtual file cannot be seen. So I just add this to the data dictionary, and after that I'll print it. I'm printing it. Okay, shall I save it and give a run now? I'll just give a run. It will do the same thing whatever we did earlier. Okay, it will do the same thing. Earlier I've deleted, erased these things. Now if you see here, it is actually added to the data dictionary. From the data dictionary we are seeing. So that is how we need to look out the output as. Okay, in any case I'll be proving that it has indeed added to the data dictionary, and we can use it through to our code as well. Okay, only this line of code, if you know, that's more than enough, guys, because all the other set of code, right, it's a standard. You can just copy paste and use it in your projects. But if you know the things line by line, it will be much more effective. So that's why we are putting an effort to learn each line. Okay, dict obj.add s key comma s item. If anybody asks in the interview how do you put the things into the test data, you need to be saying dict obj.add key and the item, key comma item. We had the variable names as s key and s item. You can see this s key and s item is our variable name, guys. Anything you can have it. Okay, now we have added the things into the data dictionary. Now whatever the code we have written, we have added these things to the data dictionary with the respective parameter name and the value. We have added the things to the data dictionary. Now before the start of the session, we had a piece of code in our desktop. I have saved it as December 2014. This piece of code should get the values from where? From the data dictionary. That is, our test data, whatever is there, this test data thing should be, we should put that to a data dictionary. From the data dictionary, this code should get. That is what was our objective, right? Shall I copy this code? Whatever this code was written was yesterday's code. What does this code do? It basically launches the books.rediff.com, clicks on sign in, enter the username password. Launching the URL and entering the username password, right? UID and password, it should take it out from the test data sheet. Okay, so I'm copying this code. Closely observe, guys. Okay, after this column count code, right? I am pasting it. Okay, now let me just remove this everything. Okay, if you closely observe, now dict obj of URL, from where it should get? From the S key. Okay, and this dict obj of this T handler is anyway handled in our coding itself. Okay, let me just group everything. Okay, so this one, dict obj of UID, from where do I need to get it? From the data dictionary, from the S key. Okay, and S item will be what? That value. Dict obj of PWD is what? Now again the S key. And what exactly it should give the value here? The respective values, value by row. So what exactly this thing should do? It should click on sign in, enter the username password, and click on the login. Okay, so shall we see whether it is actually happening? Okay, after login, right, shall I give a wait statement? Shall I give a wait statement of 5 seconds? So that you can see it's indeed logged in, because everything happens very quickly. Okay, let me say the same code I've copy pasted. Yesterday we were hard coding the things. Now I'm least bothered about the hard coding things. I'm directly taking out from the test data sheet. not only the test data sheet, I'm putting that test data to a data dictionary. From the data dictionary, I'm picking that up. Anything we are prefixing with the dict object, right? We are picking in the things from the data dictionary. Okay. Shall we see this, guys? Shall I close these things? Okay. Now, closely observe. I'll again reiterate. Closely observe whether are we hard coding anything before this line of code. Yesterday, we were happily hard coding. Dict.obj.url, we were saying dict.obj.add URL, the respective URL value we were hard coding the things. To execute this line of code, yesterday we were like dict.obj.add UID and respective values we were adding. For PWD, we used to have a code here saying that dict.obj.add. Very amateur way of writing the code. Okay, very improper way of writing the code. Okay, now everything we are handling through our data dictionary. We have written a piece of code which will take care of everything. Okay, let me just give a run command now. Closely observe, guys, whether it is taking the data from the data dictionary and actually launching books.rediff.com. So this launch itself, from where we are getting dict obj of URL. What is this message box? The message box is respective handle. So for this session, the handle property is this way. So now dict obj of t handler will be having what? For this key, this will be the item. Okay, but here we are not writing in quotes because it's a variable name. Whenever we are passing the item as a variable name, there is no need of writing in quotes. Okay, so hereafter the handler will be having what? That is also is there in the data dictionary. So for browser handle, left part of the code, to make it generic, we are going to use the t handler, dict obj of t handler. It clicked on the sign in. Now it should enter UID and password, where we got it from the data dictionary. Waiting for 5 seconds and it exited out of the loop and the entire execution is completely successful, and it again printed the virtual file. So whatever the input which we give here, now you'll be closely observing. Okay, dict obj of UID, dict obj of password is basically you are getting it from the test data sheet. Okay, but in our framework, this one will be having what? Dict obj of t param. For this also I'll be writing t param. For this also I'll be writing t param, so that it is generic. How exactly it is done? We'll be seeing that around Monday, guys. Maximum on Monday, you get to know the things. How exactly we are doing that. Okay, so from tomorrow, we'll be starting the framework design. Okay, we'll be having the piece of what you call the test cases. We'll be having the set of test cases. Okay, we'll be starting to design the framework. Okay, designing the framework itself, it might take another 1 week or so, guys. Okay, big driver script we'll be writing. Okay, and we'll be automating each and every test cases. Okay, I hope everybody is kind of clear how exactly the things were handled with respect to the data dictionary. Okay, so anybody asking in the interview how exactly you handle the test data in your framework, the answer should be data dictionary. Please mention the things of data dictionary in your interview. It has the lot of weightage. You'll be differentiated from the other people who come in for the interview. Okay,